The movie starts with two shamans, Harim, the senior, and Bangle, the junior, flying to Los Angeles. At the airport, they're picked up by a wealthy man's accountant who tells them about Park, a Korean-American businessman whose family moved to America centuries ago. Instead of going to Park's house, they go straight to the hospital where they meet Park's wife. The accountant explains why they have come, although she didn't believe in shamans and rituals. However, circumstances forced her to seek their help. Harim checks their son, revealing that Park's newborn son is suffering from a mysterious illness that isn't getting better, which is why Harim was called. Harim performs a ritual sensing Park's father and grandfather. But Park's father is paralyzed, and his grandfather died about 100 years ago, with his grave still in Korea. Harim then goes to Park's house and explains a bit about what shamans do and how they deal with evil things. Park explains that the eldest in his family always had problems. His brother committed suicide in a mental hospital, his wife had a miscarriage, and now his son is critically ill. He wants Harim to fix everything. Harim tells him this is a grave call, meaning Park's grandfather's spirit is troubling them from Korea. To solve this, she'll need more people to help. Meanwhile, in Korea, we see feng shui expert and geomancer Kim, along with funeral home owner Young, digging up a grave. Feng shui is about balancing energy. Kim explains that humans are connected to the soil, eat what grows from it, and return to it after death. For the past 40 years, Kim has been finding land for burying the dead to bring them peace. Many consider it fraud or superstition, but for the top 1%, feng shui is both science and religion. They believe in it. Returning to the story, an old lady buried in a plot was haunting her family in their dreams. Kim and Young find the old lady's teeth are missing, which is wrong. If something is taken from the body or burial rites are not properly done, spirits return or get angry. In India, it's believed that ancestors get angry in a similar way. The old lady's grandson had kept her teeth in memory of her. Returning the teeth and reburying them fixed everything because it wasn't a big case. Harim and Bangle return to Korea to meet Kim and Young. They explain they need help with Park's strange but wealthy family and their issues, which are connected to the land in Korea, Kim's expertise. Kim agrees to help. Back in LA, Park tells his mother about digging up his grandfather's grave. She disapproves, worrying about what his aunt would say, as she doesn't believe in such things. But Park is determined to save his son, even if it means digging up the grave. The next day, Park arrives in Korea, stays in a hotel, and meets Kim to get information about his grandfather's grave. The process of moving a body from one grave to another is called exhumation. Park is alone in Korea. His family remains in LA. Park takes Kim to his grandfather's grave on a mountain at the border, where they notice foxes, indicating bad omens. The tombstone has random numbers and incantations instead of a name, which seems strange for such a wealthy family. It felt like someone wanted to hide this grave or make it unidentifiable as a member of the Park family. Kim questions Park about the grave, and Park explains that his grandfather had done a lot for the country, so the grave was created in his honor. The location was suggested by a monk named Gisu. However, Kim questions why, if it's a royal tomb, it's so simple. Park explains that grave robbers were common back then, so the grave was made this way to avoid detection. Kim finds this hard to believe. Kim leaves, and Harim and the others ask what happened. He says this place isn't right for a grave because he senses powerful evil there, which means they can't work here. Their lives would be at risk if they touch anything. They return home, and in the evening, Kim talks to Park and mentions his daughter, who he loves very much and is soon to be married. Park, emotional, says his son is dying and asks Kim to save him. Harim suggests performing a ritual to dig up the grave and protect them from evil, which Kim agrees to. The next day, Park's aunt, who is his grandfather's daughter, joins them because her permission and presence are necessary. Harim brings the ritual items, including the bodies of 5 pigs. At the grave, Harim starts the ritual to protect the 5 people who will dig, using the 5 pigs. This ritual is very dangerous and intense, involving dancing, cutting pigs, drinking blood, and other mysterious acts. They dig up the body, and trust me, this scene is extremely horrifying, like Turkish-level horror. Kim can't understand what is written on the body, But the plan was to cremate the skeleton to free the spirit connected to the bones after so many years. However, while filling the grave, a worker sees a human-headed snake, crushes it, and the snake screams like a human, triggering a bad omen. Suddenly, the weather worsens, and Kim suggests stopping the cremation for the day, which Park agrees to, moving the coffin to a ward. Kim, still suspicious, goes to a nearby village to ask about Jisoo and learns that no one has heard of him. More red flags emerge. No name on the grave, isolated burial spot, human-headed snake, sensing evil, all extremely alarming. They discover that the tomb contains a treasure known to a ward person who opens the coffin, releasing the angry spirit of the grandfather. Harim, aware of the danger, starts a ritual to bring the spirit back to the grave. The spirit, starved and cold, returns home, killing Park's parents due to improper last rites and lack of welcoming rituals. The spirit then haunts Park, but is still weak and can't enter without permission, only mentally haunting him for now. Kim calls Park, explaining that the spirit is out for revenge on its own bloodline for the disrespect and lack of rituals. Kim warns Park not to open the door, but says he can open the window. Park opens the window, thinking he's safe, but the real Kim arrives outside to save him, revealing that the spirit had been deceiving Park through the phone. Now Kim faces a critical decision, persuading Yang and Harim to cremate the body to end the spirit's curse, as it's bound to the bones. Bua, Grandpa's daughter, must seek permission from her father, following tradition, and only cremation, not exhumation, will suffice. Bua hesitates, but Kim insists that the innocent child's spirit must be saved. Eventually, Bua agrees, and the coffin is set ablaze, putting an end to Grandpa's restless spirit. Meanwhile, Kim uncovers another mystery. A worker at the gravesite reveals they're hunting snakes, a strange occurrence tied to Grandpa's actions. Kim returns to the grave, encountering the same human-headed snake, actually a female named Eval, who aids people in the mountains. As the story unfolds, Kim finds an upright coffin, raising more questions. Before answers emerge, they find an injured old man, and upon investigation, uncover a haunting spell which they dispel. Later, they find the old man missing, replaced by a 7-foot-tall figure resembling a pig and an old man's head, a demon. As the demon advances toward Harim, Kim and Yang arrive, witnessing the escalating danger. Because they had never seen anything so terrifying before, the general was about to kill Harim, but then he heard a rooster crow, signaling dawn. He transformed into a ball of fire and left. As he departed, they experienced visions that revealed his story, indicating that the demon's element was fire and that he was connected to the grave. He couldn't use his powers during the day as effectively as at night. Bongal, critically injured, was sent to the hospital. Harim was deeply saddened because Bongal had always been with her and always said that as long as Harim was with him, he wouldn't be afraid because she wouldn't let anything happen to him. Kim apologized to him because he had dragged them into this mess. They decided to revisit the grave because what started there needed to be finished there. They first went to the old man's house, who had informed them about the grave robbers. They found the grave robbers' belongings and learned they followed Taoism, adhering to the rules of opposing elements like yin and yang, metal and wood. At the hospital, Harim tried to wake Bongal, realizing he was possessed and had become the servant of the 7-foot figure, the general. No one knew what the monster was guarding in the grave. Kim dug further and found the same 7-foot monster sleeping. As I mentioned, it was connected to the grave, and although it could roam at night, it had to return to the coordinates written on the tombstone. The monster could only emerge at night when its powers were strongest. They wondered what was buried there. The story's real elements began to unfold. Before his death, Park had mentioned that the fox stabbed the tiger's waist and struck its rib. The fox referred to Gisu, who was also called Gisune. The tiger represented Korea, as its map resembled a tiger. Metal rods were placed throughout Korea to disrupt its energy flow, contributing to the division into North and South Korea. The grandfather's grave was vertically aligned with the general's grave, shaped like a T. The grave robbers weren't after treasure. They were Korean patriots trying to remove these metal rods to restore Korea's energy flow. However, they never found one rod because it was buried under the grave, protected by the demonic general. Harim left her sister with Bangle to protect her from the 7-foot demon, now an Oni or yokai. The general didn't possess her immediately because of Buddhist incantations tattooed on her body. Kim and Young inked similar incantations on themselves. They planned to distract the Oni at night, while Kim and Young retrieved the rod to destroy it with horse blood. Despite their efforts, they couldn't find the rod. The Oni told Harim about the war and Jisu's actions, but he discovered their trap and attacked Harim. Her grandmother's spirit saved her, demonstrating the native spirit's respect and the general's recognition of this foreign spirit on Korean soil. The general attacked Kim, leaving him half dead. Harim tried to save him by pouring blood on the general, causing him some pain but not enough to defeat him. The general began choking Kim and Young while Bangle was already under his control. Kim had visions revealing the true story of Gisu, the Oni general, and the rod. He saw Gisu, now known as the Fox, a powerful shaman spirit, who knew that even if the rods separating Korea were found, as long as one remained hidden, Korea would never progress. Gisu took measures to ensure that one rod remained hidden by using the body of the general who had killed 10,000 people. He creates an enigma called the Golgust, using different body parts, forging a katana in fire and stitching it into the general's neck, hiding it within his body. This katana contained the spirits of 10,000 tormented souls. The general's body was then buried, making the final rod none other than the general's ghost itself, with Park's grandfather's grave placed over it to keep it hidden. Kim realized that the general himself was the final rod, and in Taoism, opposites destroy each other. Kim stabbed the general with wood in his blood. Since the general was metal forged with fire, he, the final rod, and the ghost were destroyed, breaking Bangle's possession. The human-headed snake symbolized water. Water, earth, air, metal, and fire together create balance. Killing the snake disturbed this balance, awakening the general who began haunting the digger. The water element was gone, and the general embodied fire and metal. To defeat him, they needed wood and water. Koreans historically fought with wood, blood, and sweat, echoing this method. Thus, the general ghost and final rod were destroyed, completing the robber's final task. Park's grandfather's grave was placed over the general's because it was untouchable, ensuring the coordinates remained hidden and the ghost general's final destination stayed fixed, blocking Korea's energy flow. In the movie's ending, the 4 protagonists resume their lives, attending Kim's daughter's wedding. In summary, during the Japanese-Korean War, Park's ancestors sided with the Japanese, betraying Korea, gaining power and wealth. As the war neared its end, Japanese authorities, through Gisune, placed rods to eternally sabotage Korea. Korean patriots removed most rods, but Gisune made the general's ghost the final rod, hiding it vertically under Park's grandfather's grave. Park's wealthy grandfather's grave remained untouched, allowing the general to guard the final rod. Kim realized why the grandfather targeted his family, fearing the rod's discovery and wanting to protect his family. The snake with a human head had transformed due to negative energy near the general's grave. Killing it disturbed the balance, awakening the general. Bangle was saved by incantations tattooed on him. Kim, Young, and Harim's ink incantations washed away with sweat, failing to protect them. The general's respect for Buddhism, despite being an Oni, explained his behavior. The general, once human, believed in Buddhism, hence his respect. His element being fire explained his transformation into a fireball. The final disturbance occurred when Park's grandfather's grave was excavated. Killing the snake disturbed the elements, causing rain, representing the water element. The general's guardian role required him to return to his site with his powers strongest at night. An interesting theory suggests that the katana, holding the spirits of 10,000 victims, was the real demon, and the general's spirit protected it under Gisune's plan. During the final fight, Kim realized the general's true nature, leading to the climactic battle and the destruction of the general and the final rod. This all happened swiftly, with Kim's realization and actions occurring in the heat of the moment. If it had been known earlier that the final rod was the general himself, he could have been destroyed during the day. However, this secret was so deeply hidden that no one had any idea about it. I hope you liked this explanation of my Exhuma. If you're new to these detailed explanations, Please subscribe for more content like this. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'll see you all in the next interesting video. Until then, goodbye.